Hey everybody, I'm going to check my sound settings real quick. Make sure that sound is working. Let me know what the sound is on your side, how it is on your side. Just trying a little different setup. There might be a bit of echo. If there's a bit of echo, let me know. I'll see what I can do about it. So I'm waiting on that sound check before I get going because I figured I don't want to be, I don't know, talking to myself, which I do on, fairly frequent occasions, but at least not when I'm doing an AMA. So sound check, please. Sound check. Let me know how the sound is, guys and gals, and whatever else. I don't know. Sounds good. Awesome. At least one person can hear me. That's amazing. So I'm going to start from the top. I see the first question. I see hereby made it in number 1 today. So gold medal to hereby. That's in the mail, like those XCM tokens. Why doesn't CoinMetro use other Vespa pools than the Vespa one? Implementation would be quite alike VSP staking, wouldn't allow staking for quite a few coins. Yeah, that was the plan initially. Was really one of the reasons why we listed Vespa. I'm not sure if that happened due to the fact that we may have not had, let's say, adequate communications. Not blaming Vespa, could be on our side as well. Could simply also be related to just having other tasks at hand. Could simply be because we were looking at other options. And I know that we have multiple staking opportunities rolling out in the near future. And so potentially after that happens, we may look again at Vespa. But the reason we listed Vespa, one of the reasons I should say, aside from it being someone's favorite asset, was that the fact that we were going to be looking to use them to create additional pools. As said, and I've said it many times, the goal for CoinMetro is to have a passive income option for every asset we list, and this potentially could be one way to get there. Any thoughts on cracking setting up proof of reserve system? Would you consider it on CoinMetro? I think it's kind of cool. I read that there was some limitations. At the end of the day, I think it's cool for a few reasons. One, regulatory, because maybe it saves on audits because, well, there it is in real time. I did read, and maybe I read something that wasn't factual. I don't know, that there was some centralization to this system, and thus essentially not necessarily a full, trustless proof. But again, I didn't read the whole article, so I kind of skimmed it, which, shame on me. But I do think it's good. And yes, I would be open to do it for CoinMetro. The one thing I think that would make it difficult to make it fully decentralized, and that's maybe why potentially Kraken doesn't do it either, is that, we have assets, let's say, on protocols that might be staking. We have assets at liquidity providers, which, sit in external wallets. Potentially, we don't necessarily know which wallet they sit in. We know where we send them, but the liquidity provider may be sending them to some other liquidity provider, or they may be putting them in cold storage. And so on-chain proof of reserve may never be able to actually track all the assets that sit within our broader ecosystem of, counterparties, as well as just our broader ecosystem, period. So that may lead to either that system not necessarily, if it's fully decentralized, which is probably the goal, wouldn't necessarily be accurate. And if it wasn't fully decentralized, it's just us telling you, yeah, we're good. And that would still require audits, especially from the regulatory body. So I don't know. I think it's a great idea. And I think once it's figured out how to do it truly decentralized, it's an amazing idea. And yes, I'd be open to it. One withdrawal fees reduction to flat fee and 1 daily free RC20 withdrawal for XCM stakers. Sounds like a nice thing to add to tokenomics. Oliver, if you're listening.
We got Oliver. Oliver, please check this comment.
Did I ever do that sound? I got a story about that sound effect. Maybe I'll tell it later in the show if somebody asks me about it. I think it's a great idea. I think we should do it. Maybe not exactly what you're saying. Maybe not verbatim, but yeah. Why not? I think it's good. Crazy. This hasn't happened in a long time. I got that. What is that? The end of the questions, guys? Are you kidding me? I see good sound 4 minutes ago. And then that's it. I'm going to jump into Telegram. Maybe there's some issue with people posting comments. Hold on 1 second. Let me get out my trusty mobile device here. Never really, I haven't had this happen in such a long time. I'm thinking it must be a tech issue. Let's see. So good old Telegram. Don't see anybody posting that they can't. I saw. Here's a question, not necessarily an on-topic one, but hey, it is Ask Me Anything. So, what's your favorite dance move? KB603. I like an anonymous person asking me something personal. There's a unique, like ironic state of that kind of brightens my day. So, with dancing, when I was, everybody in their 20s probably has about, depending on how good or bad you are at dancing, or how good or bad you think you are. Yeah. You have maybe 10, 15 dance moves. You get out there, you're trying all kinds of stuff. You might be doing some Saturday Night Fever. They throw on a 70s jingle and you're trying to do Saturday Night Fever. Maybe you're trying to do a Pulp Fiction remake with some songs, then they put on the latest, whatever, R&B, hip hop, whatever, and you're bankhead bouncing all over the place. I don't know. That bankhead bounce. Everybody know what the bankhead bounce was? It was, this. But anyway, I probably had, in my head, I don't know, thought I could do maybe like 15, 20 dance moves in my 20s. That dropped to like 7, maybe in my 30s. In my beginning 40s, it was 3. Now it's probably 2, right? You got your notorious kind of head bob, just to the beat, hopefully, unless you have no rhythm. Then, you're just head bobbing like an asshole, I guess. And then there's kind of, the little thing with the arms, where you kind of levitate your arms, doing one of these. Every once in a while, you might raise a hand, That's pretty much it, man. I try to keep it simple now. That's it. I think I get away with it only because for most songs up until, right around the early 2000s, I can sing them all, man. Not that I sing well, but I can go, beat for beat with them. So I think that's some saving grace. So I don't look like a complete moron. But yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite dance move, but I have an only dance move, if that, works. I don't know. What are your thoughts on VXV? Is a tricky one for me. VXV is kind of one of those things for me that, when I had a talk with their CEO initially, smart guy, smart guy, smarter than me in many ways. Definitely more educated than I am in the literal sense. Probably more degrees than would fit on the wall behind us in our new Mexican office, by the way. Favorite dance. For me, I personally, I never bought VXV. And the reason why I didn't buy it was, one, I didn't really understand the need for the token, similar to why I did buy some quant, but I don't own any now. I don't see, I'll restate this again. You go back to the ICO days, even now, and you ask, what's the reason for your token? There was no reason for any token, right? Literally, you can do everything that most projects are still doing without a token. But the token provides some amazing things and some streamlined, I would say, access and some streamlined treasury management that you just don't really get from, having to move fiat between ledgers. And so, and so at the end of the day, most tokens weren't needed, but there was a clear reason given, or at least a clear reason understood why they existed. Now, obviously, protocol-based tokens are a different thing altogether. There is a need to use the protocol. Now, do we need the protocol is a whole nother question that just delves into a bunch of other questions that, we're not going to get to in this 30 to 45 minutes. We're going to be sitting here together. But I didn't buy VXV. I didn't really understand why the token existed. I like the thematic baskets. I like a lot of things they talked about. I'm not sure those things have been actually pushed out yet, which, hey, we've all had delays. CoinMetro, which, you notice behind me, it says CoinMetro, not CoinMetro, because that's our actual name. But for a while, CoinMetro would have been pretty accurate. And so, yeah, I don't own VXV. I'm not saying you shouldn't own VXV. Don't take, my opinion to be, from God's mouth to your ears or something. But I don't own it. And the reason I don't own it, I don't own a lot of stuff that's done quite well, right? So whatever. But I didn't put it in my portfolio because I just couldn't make the connections I needed to make to buy it. But I did see potential, so we listed it. That's it. Like I said, just because I like or don't like something doesn't mean we list or don't list it. That is not part of the listing criteria, thank God. Can the euro be saved? Well, I think since, when it was launched, no. It's an inevitable failure. It's an inevitable failure for a simple fact that the euro tries to link up, well, it was 28, now 27 economies. Is it 20? Well, why am I saying it's one less? Why did that pop into my head? I don't know. I don't know why that popped into my head. Anyway, it's either 27 or 28. It's Friday. Give me a break. I didn't Google it. Actually, that's the Eurozone. I don't know if that's not the euro. Anyway, Jesus, who cares? Point is that they try to link a lot of economies that are simply polar opposites. There's too many differences. It's like this. If you ever heard of the Amero discussion, if you haven't, it's basically been around for 20 years, talking about that North America should have one currency: Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. Yeah, no fucking way. That's like saying, I don't know, China and Wisconsin and Chile should all share the same currency because, why not? Sounds like a great idea on paper. I wrote it on a napkin last night when I was halfway drunk. And from what I can read from my shitty handwriting, seems like it would be a winner. So let's do it. No. I think the euro is destined to failure. Now, the euro as designed, and we can see that it's failing, right? Greece, basically the pig nations in general, Italy being the next major fucking catastrophe waiting to happen in terms of its attachment to the euro, and Germany having kind of to bail out everybody because while they have a massive economy and comparatively speaking to the pig's economy, they're a joke, right? So yes, I don't necessarily see the euro ever being able to be saved. That doesn't mean it fails tomorrow. It doesn't mean it fails in 10 years. But I think it's a failure waiting to happen. The question is how that's dealt with. And I think they've had a long time to figure out how it's going to be dealt with, and they're going to have some time more. So I'm not too worried about it today. And price action aside, that price action is simply because people run to the dollar in times of crisis. And there's a global crisis. So hello, dollar. How was Universal Disney? Fave ride. Oh, see, this is better than favorite dance. This one's going to require some thought process. So I have a great time when I go to Disney and Universal with my daughter. We people watch. If you guys haven't played that Olympic sport, that's when you sit back and, generally, make fun of other people. Now, that sounds terrible, but, it's in a joking manner, and it's all in good fun. And me and my daughter really have fun time. We play games and even try to spot, I don't know, the weirdest pair of pants, which sometimes is me. So that's a pretty easy game to win. You guys have seen some of my pants choices. Questionable, or honestly, just questionable. I don't know what other word to use. Questionable. But, so weirdest pair of pants, funniest haircut. I'm baldest. I haven't won that one for whatever reason. I don't know. There's also some other ones I'm not going to mention on air. But the point is that, we have a good time. And we're fortunate enough to be able to have, tours and stuff. So we can just cut lines, which is fun. It's a good socioeconomic experiment when someone's been waiting 4 hours to get on a ride that lasts 13 seconds and you cut in front of them, not once, but twice. It's kind of brutal. And I usually end up getting in some pretty interesting conversations with people. So I had a really interesting one this time, but I'm not going to go into that either. But it's a funny story. At the €1 party, asked me about it. I'll tell you about it. I actually got recognized this year as well at Universal. Somebody actually recognized CoinMetro and took a selfie with me. Hopefully, they posted it online somewhere. They probably didn't. Maybe they didn't even know who I was, but I think they did. Anyway, maybe they were just trying to SIM swap me. I don't know. I didn't use my phone, so we're good. Disney favorite. So I'll go from both because they're two very different parks. Disney is very much more kid orientated. It's just a fun experience because the people watching in Disney as an Olympic sport, as I said, is the best people watching in the world. Bar none. Bar none. Bar none. Bar none. So Disney. So actually, I can break it down by park if you like. Here we go. This is how much of a Disney nerd I've become after bringing my daughter there 400 times. By the way, in case you're wondering, I went there as a kid when I was 5. And that's it. So it's kind of like I'm reliving what should have been an idyllic childhood, dream, going to Disney more every year. I don't know. I think it was. Maybe it isn't. Maybe my daughter hates it and won't tell me. So Magic Kingdom, that would be Disney for everybody out there that's never been to a Disney park. There's nothing really truly exciting in a Disney park. Like the most craziest ride in Disney is just like, in terms of, throw ride or whatever. But I like the classics. So I'd have to say probably Pirates of the Caribbean. That's got to be a classic. You go there, you got to go on that ride every time. Paris, California, whatever, Florida. Then you got Epcot. Epcot actually has Guardians of the Galaxy now, which is the same exact ride. If you've been on the Nemo ride in Paris, it's the same thing. It's a roller coaster, spins around while you're going up and down indoors. very smooth, quite fast. That's a good one. What else? Animal Kingdom, probably the Yeti ride. It's just a roller coaster. You see a Yeti, you go backwards. Again, not that thrilling, but still kind of fun. Plus, the lines are usually short because most people won't go on it. And then you got Hollywood Studios. So you got the Tower of Terror in there. You just drop, it's supposed to be scary. It's not, but it's fun. And then we got the Star Wars rides. Now, I'm not a big Star Wars fan at all. Never watched a movie. Stayed at the hotel, though, last year. It was really fun. Star Wars rides are cool experience. But obviously, you don't get them. I don't get emotional on it. I mean, if I go in there dressed as Darth Vader and was like a super fan, I'd probably cry, but not. But the Star Wars, I think Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser or some shit like that. I think that's the hotel. Whatever. It's one where, I don't know, you go in and you're in a room and then you see Star Troopers and they put you in jail. They break you out of jail. You go in this fucking. That one's pretty cool. And then, Tower of Terror, got to be up there. Then Universal, got to be the Velocicoaster. It's the newest ride out there. It is basically it's a fast, I think, 75-mile-per-hour roller coaster. It's got a 158-foot vertical incline and drop. It's got like 37 inversions or some shit. It's cool. If you go, check it out. If you don't like roller coasters, still check it out because it's so smooth that even though you think you're going to fly out of the seat, or you do, your butt actually lifts out of the seat about 15 times during the ride. It's so smooth, it's not jarring anything. Amazing. That was probably the longest answer I ever gave, and it was about Disney. So I don't know what that means in terms of CoinMetro's future, but there you go. Sorry about that. Yo, what up? Hey, SSB, how you guys doing? How about the PA announcement story you mentioned earlier? PA announcements. The story about PA announcements. So I didn't go to college. Throwing that out there, right? I could have. I didn't. I had a business. I figured, what the fuck am I going to college for if I'm already making money? That could have been the worst decision of my life or the best. I'm still here. So maybe I wouldn't have been bald if I went to college. I don't know. Maybe I'd working at a gas station. Who fuck knows? With like 10 billion in college debt and then clapping about Joe Biden getting rid of 10K of it. Like, thanks, dude. Anyway, not thinking obviously about the rest of the repercussions on the economy, which is fucking crazy. But PA announcement. So I had a couple friends that were in college, and a couple of them were at UConn. UConn has this crazy dorm they call the Jungle. Crazy parties in there and shit. Now, I wasn't a party guy through the entirety of high school, even into my early years where I would have been in college, because I had a business. I was hustling and bustling, trying to make money. I didn't give a shit about going out with friends, drinking. In fact, I almost never did it. But this one occasion, went to the Jungle. And people got, smashed. That place was famous for just stupid parties. I mean, people would end up like jumping off of roofs, trying to jump into, glasses of water, like cartoon style, and just getting wrecked hard. Anyway, so it was a crazy party. The police had broken it up like 3 times in the same evening. And the next morning, I hadn't been drinking, so I was fresh. Like 6 a.m., I'm up. Everybody else is done. And so me and another buddy who kind of was drinking, but wasn't drinking enough to get wrecked, we started trolling the hallways of this dorm, and we were going and knocking on the door, and then going.
Yeah, we have a 37.6 in progress. That's a 37.6.
Open the door.
We got a phone.
And so we were just acting like police, basically, and we scared the shit out of so many people that day. I don't know how many. I know one dude who will remain nameless. Let's just say he was flushing the toilet a lot. Was super pissed at us. A couple hours later. And we didn't tell anybody. We told a few people a couple hours later it was us, because obviously it took people like 10 minutes to even figure out what was going on. Then they were freaking out in their rooms, whatever. But some people didn't know for years. In fact, I ran across somebody about 5 to 10 years later and told them that. And literally they told me they had to go see a psychologist because of the stress. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if that makes me a horrible person, but I thought it was funny as hell. Because I think he was joking. Thoughts on Web3 and how CM might leverage? Well, I think that, this whole Web3 to me, it's like, how many kind of names do we need to come up with for solutions that aren't really going to be mature enough to use in any real manner for 5 to 10 years? I mean, you got the metaverse, you got Web3, Web4 is definitely coming along. Web5, I read an article today about Web5. Web3 in general, right? Owning your stuff, right? That's Web3, right? Everybody's seen the tweet or the meme or whatever that's like, I don't know, Web1 or whatever, I forget what it is now, but Web1, porn, I don't know. Web2, you can make porn. Web3, you can own your porn. I don't know. It's actually not a meme. Maybe I should make that one, and maybe it'd be funny. I don't know if it's funny. I can't really judge sometimes if things are funny or not, even if I say them. So when it comes to Web3, metaverse in general, all this stuff, at the end of the day, I've talked about a million times that things will be hybrid, right? I think it's not a reality, especially in finance. Now, I'm not talking about in general the technology, because in many industries, you can almost do what you want. They're unregulated industries. You want to disconnect everything and dematerialize everything and digitize everything. Have at it, right? Who cares? I mean, not who cares, but nobody really cares from a regulation standpoint or a law standpoint, unless you start selling heroin online via Web3. So for us, however, I think the future is always going to be hybrid. Everybody, not just us. That means that there will be an aspect of the business that is decentralized. There'll be an aspect of the business that is connected directly to Web3 and these type of services and products, etc. There's always going to be another side, though, that's going to be centralized, because centralization for some specific things is either better or permitted. And when I say permitted, I mean by regulation. When I say better, centralized order book. To this point, we haven't had a decentralized order book, for example, that can beat a centralized order book. Doesn't exist yet. Will it exist? Maybe. Will it? I don't know, but it might. And so I think, Web3, to give a specific right now, it's like, I'll give you this idea of the metaverse, right? To me, the metaverse is only about immersive advertising right now. That's it. I can't find a single use case, to be honest, that, unless it's written into a real fluffy 12-page blog post, makes any sense in reality, real reality, not, Web3 reality. But it's immersive advertising. And just like NFTs right now, the really main use case is about almost the same thing. It's getting people to interact and creating a community and making it interactive. And that's also many times about advertising. So in that aspect, those things are doing well. They're kind of crushing it, and they're figuring out ways. Adidas is putting out NFTs that connect to, customized clothing and all this shit. Those things are interesting, but, we're not fucking curing cancer or sending rockets to Pluto, which is a dwarf planet, by the way, if people haven't read a news article in 15 years. And so, whatever. But I think the future will be hybrid, and Web3 is going to be a part of that. I guess that's my short, long answer. What would happen if the euro were to collapse? What would happen if the euro were to collapse? Well, I guess you'd have to define collapse, because if collapse is falling more than 15% a year and getting fucking straight wrecked on the market, it collapsed already. If collapse is, not being able to standardize standardize is the wrong word, not being able to equalize the buying or the economic power of countries that use it so that everyone's kind of on the same level, that shit collapsed 30 years, almost 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And so if you mean collapse like it just goes away, that's not going to happen. Why? Well, because why would they let that happen like that? I think why, we should know at this point, right? Because of COVID or whatever. Governments can, they got this button, and they pick up the control and they're like, okay, print. And then, a bunch of, I don't know, Taiwanese children or something start printing money. And that's how the world works. So they can print money. They can print money, and inflation can go. And to be honest, inflation doesn't even have to rise if they print money, if they do it right. But if inflation rises, who cares? Print more money. When it continues to rise, raise interest rates. They do the whole thing they've been doing for 100 years. That doesn't work, but kicks the can down the road. Now, there's no reason why they would just say, shit, it didn't work. It's gonna collapse. But when Italy starts to kind of really topple over, which is kind of inevitable, unless Germany and the ECB decide, well, let's print a bunch of money and save Italy. I don't really think that's going to happen. I don't know if you been to Italy or dealt with Italians in general. Italians and Germans. I don't see the Germans stepping up and saving Italy, to be honest. Just like they didn't save the Greeks. And so there's going to be some issues that are going to arise. They will be solvable in the short term. In the long term, I honestly think the euro is going to probably consolidate to countries where the euro really makes sense. And then, other countries will go back to some other form where they can control more of their economic policy, whether that's issuing their own currency or having literally a side chain to the euro. Remember that, that central bank issued digital currencies are going to be a thing. So will side chains be a thing? So if the euro issues the digital euro, the D-euro or whatever, or just the euro on a protocol, can Greece then issue a Euro G and have its own economic policy around the Euro G, but have it collateralized in euro? There you go. There you go. There you go. Central Bank, ECB. There you go. I solved your problem. You're welcome. I'll wait for the check in the mail and I'll buy XCM with it, because what else would I do? Kevin, giving you a shout out on Twitter. Awesome. Thank you. Question: near and phantom listings. Is the team looking into it? Those are on lists. I don't know if it's a short list, long list, middle list, but I've seen them on lists, at least near. Phantom, I think I've heard about it, but I'm not sure. Maybe it hasn't been on a list, but near is definitely on a list somewhere. What's the latest with shakes? Shaky shakes. Need the Dubai volume. Working on it, man. Working on it with the regulator. Probably going to fly over there in September to see how we doing. Favorite candy? Jesus, KB is just hitting the hard questions today. Really hitting the hard questions. I don't eat candy, man, so I don't really have any. I guess I'd have to say like dark chocolate or something. But to be honest, I mean candy I haven't eaten in years. I'm surprised you can't tell by my amazing complexion, my skin and hair. I mean, obviously I'm taking care of myself. Standard question about Cadena bonding. Is it coming back? Do you think we are at a stage of buy the rumor, sell the news with these two? I think there will be some, buy the rumor, sell the fact with ETH. I think we've seen a bit of buy the rumor already. The fact that it does look like it's imminent. Obviously, people have been supporting ETH. But, Bitcoin has kind of been, tagging along as well, whether that's because there's some correlation there or it's actually Ether following Bitcoin. Now, Ether has been beating Bitcoin in terms of the ETH BTC price, that's for sure, or BTC ETH price. As far as Cadena bonding is going, I don't think it's going to come back in its current state, or not current anymore, but in its previous state. I think at some point Cadena will come back with a passive income solution, whether it's going to be similar, the same to bonding, or whether it's going to be still bonding, but under a different structure. I think it's inevitable, but there's a few things that need to happen before that takes place. And for the most part, those are bridges. And the bridges, whether controlled by third parties or controlled by Cadena themselves, need to be, that solution needs to be in play. What kind of safeguards against insider trading does CoinMetro have in place in any? Well, like every company, we have policies, coercion, i.e., dude, give me some information, I'll give you some free candy. That doesn't happen, shouldn't happen, never has happened, won't happen at CoinMetro. In terms of, I would ask you, I have asked questions before to the audience, right? So nobody in particular, I would ask you, what could you do to always stop literally mitigate risk to zero for insider trading? I'll wait, because this is a hard question. And if you like, I'll answer it because, you asked me first. There's nothing you can do to essentially completely stop the risk of insider trading. What you can do as a company is not promote it and make sure people understand that it's not tolerated, and that if it's found out, the company will act. You can also obviously restrict trading around assets before and after listing. Listings, one of the reasons why we don't make them public before we do it, just like the question before, have you been looking at NEAR? If I said, yes, we're looking at NEAR and it's going to list tomorrow, well, now, does that considered inside information? Well, that would depend on whether this AMA is considered public information. It's on a massive platform called YouTube, but obviously it's not getting millions or billions of views. So is it public? Would this be considered insider trading or not? So there's a bit of gray area always in insider trading, not just in crypto, right? So to stay away from that gray area, we try to be as concise as we can. We try to make sure that there's only a small group of people that actually know what's happening in terms of listings. We also restrict trading on those trading pairs internally when they are listed. Not that CoinMetro listing has a massive effect on an asset. We have had effects, especially long-term effects with assets, but short-term, I would say almost every exchange doesn't have a short-term, not like it used to be, right? If there was an announcement for Coinbase or a Binance listing or something in the past, boom, everybody went there and bought it. Not so much anymore. Hi, Kevin. What are your thoughts on having XCM being used to pay for advanced orders like hidden orders or iceberg orders? I've seen other exchanges do this. That's interesting. At the end of the day, commissions are all paid on the exchange using XCM, even if you're not, because it's just converted to XCM. But this could be interesting. I think it could be tied better to tiers. If you're in a larger tier, you just have you have access to those orders for no additional cost or something like that. And potentially, you can pay a bit extra commission to get those orders activated and pay that in XCM. It's not a bad idea. I'll
Ray Oliver.
for this one as well. So make sure that he takes notes. Somebody will tell him about it. I'm sure he's watching. He watches every game. He loves them. Am I stupid to have all my XCM staked? They're not taking advantage of recent XCM margin collateral features. I wouldn't say you're stupid. No, look, if you're a margin trader actively and you need some more collateral, well, I guess you could use some of it. If you're not, there's no reason to just say, oh, well, let me stop this, static passive income and see if I don't get wrecked or not on margin. And so I don't think you're stupid. No, I mean, I'm not an active margin trader myself, and I have XCM staked. I wouldn't call myself stupid either for that decision. So it really depends on your own personal situation. I think our goal in the long run is to allow you to use staked XCM as collateral. And so at some point, you have the best of both worlds. Continue your great work, Kevin. Thank you, Mustachu. What do you think about katic so far? Are you planning to list the katic token katics? Still haven't had the conversation, which I think is important to figure out whether or not, how that situation was handled with katics in the past. I won't go into the situation again because I don't want to drum up nonsense, but I think it's great that they finally launched. I think it's great that they seem to be doing well. I see that, the amount of assets that are flowing through katics is growing. Great. Congratulations to the team for that. But as of right now, the listing status hasn't changed. Do you think you'll be able to sell XCM by Christmas? Please, my wife's boyfriend wants to take her on vacation. Yeah. This is my girlfriend's husband. Yeah, my girlfriend's husband. I know. I think it was was it a different name before? That was just more confusing. This one actually is not confusing. This one's straight right on. Okay. So my wife's boyfriend. Wait a minute. My girlfriend's husband. So that would mean you're a dude and you're your girlfriend's husband. Actually, it still is confusing. Or you're saying you're a dude and you're saying your girlfriend has a husband. Okay. But then you're saying here, my wife's boyfriend. Fuck, man, my brain just went to mush. I don't even know. Okay. So anyway, please. Okay. It's all hands on deck with getting XCM better than it was before in terms of book depth. All hands on deck. There's lots of stuff happening in the background. There's going to continue to be lots of stuff happening in the background. I can't give you a guarantee on anything in life, unfortunately. That's how life works. What I can tell you is that it is in our best interest as a company to make sure that happens ASAP. Whether or not it happens so that you can buy your poor wife's boyfriend, a trip around the world, I don't know. Can't say with any sense of certainty, but that is within the time frame that we're hoping and working towards getting it fixed. Shouldn't say getting it back on track, I should say. Could you show us your thought process and how you analyze a new project? Term do your own research is a little vague. Yeah, well, I think it's vague on purpose because everybody has, some people, are going to hold a crystal ball. Others will chew a piece of gum, throw it on the table, analyze the chew marks. Some are going to see if Venus is in Neptune's Uranus or something. I don't know. Everybody has their own, do your own research, and that's why it's vague. Vague for a reason. For me, companies are people. That's it. So for me, my analysis is usually centered mostly around people. Do these people know what they're doing? Would I trust these people? Do they seem like they're ambitious enough? Are they too risk on? Are they too risk adverse? Is their leadership passionate? How big the team is? Can they work together? Is their end goal? Does it make sense? All those things. So really, it's just kind of a full-on detailed analysis of people. And then obviously, making sure that all the documentation is in order and blah, blah, blah. But it's people, talking to people, looking at track records, et cetera. Now, look, I'm a guy that has had failures in my life, didn't go to college, took an alternate route to what most people thought was the route to success. So for me, if you come to me and you don't have a college degree, or you have 40 of them, or you're not as well spoken as the next guy, or you're, extremely educated and speak very well, none of that stuff necessarily plays a part. It's all about the whole package, right? I've met super educated people that I wouldn't, trust to watch my dog that I hate. And at the same time, I've met super uneducated people that, to be honest, I would give the keys to my house without a shadow of a doubt. And so, it's not just about trust. It's about, trust is a big word. And I actually was on a call yesterday. We talked about continuum of trust, which I thought was a good word. I called it something else. That's the difference between me, uneducated, and then, the guy who went to college. Nicer word. I think I called it a tier system, because I like tier systems. That should be obvious to you guys at this point. But this continuum of trust, right? There's different kind of layers and levels of trust, and it changes over time. But trust is a big word. It means a lot of things. I need to feel, to a certain extent, that I trust a person and their team to list them. It's this. If you think about investing in something, what do you look for when you invest in something? That's the same kind of tactics that we take when we list something. Doesn't mean we're going to invest in it. I mean, we might. Doesn't mean we will. But it's the same strategy we take. And everybody's do your own research will be different. And if it works for you, like you're confident in your process, then don't use someone else's process. In fact, learn about processes until you find one you like. Doesn't have to be the same, doesn't have to be different. It just has to be yours. Where are we with the Canadian staking reopening? I think I already answered that one about the bonding question a little earlier. I'm going to take up till about 45 minutes after the hour. We're going to take a few more questions, and then I got to hustle because I think we have a side meeting that's set up between now and our normal Friday meetings. Hi, Kevin. Nice to see you. Any plans for AMA with other coin token? Absolutely. Well, I can't say there's current plans right now, but I love to do those things, and I'm ready to do it. So if marketing's listening, get me some token and coin founders. Let's have AMAs. I like the ones with Flux and Credo, for example, especially since they have been many new listings. I agree. I think we need to do more of those bad boys. An AMA with Syntropy or Koval would be interesting. Awesome. If anybody knows how to put us in contact with them, or you want to send them a Telegram message, like, dude, this bald guy, Kevin, who sometimes has a beard and sometimes doesn't, who's always bald, would like to, sit down and do an interview with you guys, do it. And then, if they contact me, we'll set it up. How much XCM do you own? A lot. I'm not the biggest holder. There's actually a private holder who holds more than I do, who's a tremendous supporter of the company in many ways, much more than one. But I own a lot of XCM. I'll leave it at that. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for getting personally involved in my withdrawal issue on your weekend. You're absolutely welcome, Phil. I'll stem away from withdrawal issue. Understand, I'll give a little feedback on this because I know there's still a few people right now waiting on some money movements. And, just to let you guys know the complexity of this business, right? Understand that we always have all client assets plus within our ecosystem, always. Never falls below. But that ecosystem is not other exchanges, but I guess essentially liquidity providers. It's, let's say, custodial platforms. It's merchant accounts. It's bank accounts. It's EMIs, electronic money issuance accounts. It's payment service provider accounts. A lot of that stuff is always in transit. Sometimes that transit is instant. Sometimes it takes days. Sometimes it's always taken one day, and then out of the blue, it takes 5. Sometimes those banking providers, EMIs, et cetera, ask for documentation on movements. Even though they ask for the same documentation 15 times, you guys know that pain. So the thing is sometimes, we try to keep, just like you don't want to keep more than X point something % in hot wallets with crypto. You don't want to keep a ton of money, millions and millions, in what I would call hot fiat wallets for almost the same reason, very similar reasons. And so trying to maintain that, sometimes there are delays. It has nothing to do with anything except moving money takes time. And, building up reserves also take time. And we have to kind of make sure we always have enough capital liquidity providers to support trading. We have multiple. We need to make sure we have enough capital or enough assets inside hot wallets and warm wallets and cold wallets. And so all that stuff generally ends up causing, in some instances, some delays. But just know that it's not about, we can't access things. It's not about there's some underlying issue. The issue is the complexity of the business, and not that and running this business is never the same day in day out. There's always going to be a caveat. And you try to train yourself to get around every one of those caveats. Like I said, the bank says, "Oh, we need on a Friday at 6 p.m. We need some documentation to release this transfer you submitted on Wednesday," which is a transfer that we send daily, literally for 4 years. But this time they want documentation. They actually have Friday at 6. You send it at 6:02. They don't look at it until Monday at 11 a.m. So it is what it is. Hi, Kevin. Do you think CBDCs will affect the crypto market in general and the altcoin purchasing restrictions that are apparently being implemented in Canada? Well, I would say on the latter, altcoin purchases, obviously, there's still DEXs still exist. And even without DEXs existing, there's going to be pushback from centralized markets for sure. Not sure what that's going to lead to, but we'll see. In terms of CBDCs, I think, they have the potential to affect crypto in a way that it brings much more capital into crypto more easily. Like if somebody's getting their paycheck or their tax return paid in a CBDC that they can easily move onto an exchange, much easier potentially than they can move fiat. Well, that could be beneficial. Oh, my light just died. That's why I look terrible. So I have to cut this off immediately. So I do think it'll have an effect. I don't think it'll have a overly positive effect, but I also don't think, at least initially, it's not going to have a negative effect either. People aren't going to say, "Oh, forget Bitcoin. I'm going to buy, digital Canadian dollars." That's not, well, it might happen. Some people, some people are, some people, but in general, that's not going to happen. Last question for the day, guys. If I didn't get to your question, tag me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. You can tweet me at Kevin Murcko. I'll get to them. Got a few things I got to take care of this afternoon. Any plans to shift CoinMetro operations over to Mexico? I know you have faith in NATO, but the Baltics are getting up to some weird stuff with Kaliningrad blockades and the like. Well, lots of operations are already in Mexico, and most of our administrative staff, operationally speaking, like FinOps, financial operations and compliance and support, are generally the more hiring is generally going to happen here anyway, simply because a lot of our client base sits between, let's say, the corner of Western Europe and into North America. And so it's just better suited to service them from here. And so over time, I don't think we're going to become a Mexican headquartered business. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to stay in Talon either. I think with the evolution of the business, that headquarters is going to move somewhere like London or somewhere like, New York or somewhere like, wherever. If you're looking at the fintech side, some more fintechy capital, maybe even somewhere. It could be Mexico City even. The Mexico City, Guadalajara, some of these places are really starting to become tech hubs as well. So the future is going to be different than it is now. And again, I wouldn't worry about Estonia. While personally, if for the people that live there, myself included, my family, and the people and our employees that live there, we will do everything we can to make sure that if something happens, we get everybody out, right? That's going to be our the first thing we think about. However, from a business standpoint, we don't have servers there. We don't have critical, technical operations there, et cetera. So at the end of the day, it wouldn't necessarily affect the business. But it would be, there might be a day, 2-3 days where CoinMetro, support takes a little longer than normal because we're actively trying to get people out. But I still don't see that as an eventual outcome. And, I think everybody hopes it's not. So that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there. Have a great rest of your Friday. If you're on this side of the world where I currently am, Mexico, it's roughly, 8 a.m., going on 8 a.m. So have a great rest of your Friday. If you're on the other side of the world, Friday's done. Yeah, we're almost done for some of you, done for others. Thank God it's Friday. Have a great weekend. Don't look at prices. But, buy XCM because that's what you should do every weekend. If a Saturday passes and you don't buy some XCM, I don't know what you're doing. It's like there's 3 things you need to do on a Saturday. Breathe, wake up, breathe, and buy XCM. I think it's written somewhere in the Bible. I don't know the exact page, but I'll try to find it next week for you guys. Also the Quran and the New Testament and the Old Testament. It's written in all of them. It's been there. It's absolutely written, and I'll help you find it. Hopefully next week. I'll have to find my Bible. It's hidden somewhere. I haven't looked at it in a while. Anyway, have a good weekend. Like I said, thanks for coming here. Thanks for the support. Really do appreciate it. Thanks for hanging around with me with my stupid jokes, and hopefully a little bit of knowledge that may help some people out. Check you guys here next week. Tag me if you want, and I'll answer your questions. Cheers.